I would like to invite Chief Williams up to give our invocation and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for what you've done for us on the cross, Lord. Thank you for all you do for us. Keep us safe. Be with this time and make the right decisions, Lord. Be with this country, Lord. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedules to be here with us tonight. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment of privilege to address to address the letter that was sent to us by Treasurer Falwell. I just want to let you all know that we are working on the response as we speak. There were a few discrepancies that we want to address in the letter, but that letter will be published once it's sent off to the state treasurer. So we will keep it moving with agenda item number 3, addition and deletions. Are there any additions and deletions? Okay, we will keep moving. Agenda item 4, approval of the agenda. Alderwoman Cooper.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Is there a second? Alderman Palacios.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Agenda item 5, approval of consent items. The draft minutes for March 7th special meeting, March 17th emergency meeting, March 24th special meeting, and March 28th regular meeting, and the application for the Minimum Housing Appeals Board. Awesome. Chris Shara. Alderwoman Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to approve all of the minutes, all of the consent items, with the exception of the draft minutes of the March 24th special meeting. I think there's some content that was left off that we need to look at and might need to add.
Okay. Is there a second? Mayor Pro Tem?
I second.
Any discussion? Alderman Palacios?
Yeah, I just want to welcome Chris to the Minimum Housing Appeals Board and just make a plea for anybody else that's interested in serving on that board. I believe she's going to be the first member.
Very first.
Okay.
Definitely. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. No one signed up for public comments. So we will move on to agenda item 7, the presentation from the Local Government Commission, financial summary report. And I'm assuming that will be you, David. You are not Susan.
Yeah, just talk, yeah.
Thank you for noticing. I'm David Irwin. I'm on the staff of the Government Commission. We did send out.
Here it is.
Okay. We did send out the financial summary for the period ended February 28th with a cover letter on there. And I assume y'all have all read that. So I was just going to make a few comments about what it kind of tells us as of the end of February. So we're 8/12 through the budget year, or 66.7%. Always like to get that number out there. So it's really good to understand, you know, when you're looking at these reports, the percentage of the budget you've either received or spent. So your property taxes are at 94% of budget. The additional 6%, if it all comes in, would be another $190,000. I think the last audit had your collection percentage at 98%, so that hopefully it'll get back up to that again. Sales tax are showing at 47% of budget, which is, it seems low, but there's a 2-month lag in when sales tax are collected and when they're remitted to the unit. So as of February, we're really a 2.5-month lag. You won't get your, if there's any Christmas increase in sales tax, you won't see that till the March report. But we think sales tax across the state are strong, so we think that is going to continue. Your overall general fund revenue is at 64% of budget through 8 months, and so that's tracking well. On the expenditure side, there were a couple of departments that are kind of borderline that, you know, we're watching. The IT/communications, it's at 75% of budget, and police are right on the borderline at 67%. So just have to mind those budgets through the rest of the year. We have done a kind of a rough cash flow projection, and although the net at this time of year is what, $1.1 million, the cash flow projection shows that over the next 4 months, probably the town expenditures will exceed general fund revenues by about $750,000.
I'm sorry, David, can I interrupt you just for one moment, just so I don't have to interrupt you again?
Okay.
Would you prefer that we ask the questions for each fund balance while you're talking about that specific balance, or would
That
you
would be
prefer
fine,
that we wait
yeah.
until the end?
No, go ahead and ask the questions while we're on the topic.
Okay.
But back to the cash flow projection, you know, I think Susan in her note, or her cover letter, kind of said that January is usually the high point of cash for the general fund. So that 1.1 million looks good, but it will be necessary to get us to June 30th and beyond, because, you know, from here on out, expenditures will exceed revenue if things go as anticipated. And
I'm sorry.
that's not unusual for municipalities. Yes.
I do have a question about the recreation fees. I see in January, the January report, it says recreation and fees, but for this current February one, it says recreation fees and county tax.
Yeah, I did that to get some clarity, since there's the possibility that recreation will move to the Cumberland County Fayetteville Recreation Consortium. I thought it would be good to see all those revenues associated with recreation as compared to the expenditures in the general fund.
And is that where the additional $38,000 comes from?
Yes, that was county fees that you get for recreation.
Okay. Alderman Lockman?
Thank you, Mr. Irwin. On that same topic there, last month I see that the recreation fees and now county tax was $29,000. This time it's $67,000. But the actual to date in January was $9,781. But as of the end of February, it's $50,332 for a year-to-date collection of 75%.
Yeah, that's correct. When we consolidated the tax with the fees, that's what made the $50,000.
Okay.
Alderman Cooper?
Thank you, ma'am. I had a couple of questions. I see interfund transfers, but then when I look at the report, I couldn't find that number anywhere else. And then I saw other revenues, and I thought in our training we were told never to have a other category on our reports. So
Well,
can you tell us what that
You
is?
listen.
We all do.
So in a summer report like this, if I listed out all the other revenues, it would probably add a page or two. So in your system, for the accounting system, you don't want a lot of miscellaneous or other revenues. You want them to be defined. But in summer reports like this, in order to just show the total revenue picture, a lot of the miscellaneous, a lot of the smaller dollar revenue categories, which you have quite a few. I mean, there's probably 50 or 60 other accounts in this other revenue line. This is just a kind of a reporting other.
Is there any way we could get maybe an asterisk and give us some of the top places those other revenue come from?
If you like, I can send you the printout. of the revenues, and
Okay.
you can go through and see what comprises that other revenue.
And it doesn't have to be an every month thing,
Yeah.
but because we have not seen anything
Okay.
in that other category, if we can kind of get a
All right.
glimpse of what it is.
Right, and the interfund transfer, where was that transferred to? It says
Well-
interfund transfer of 279050.
I'll have to get back to you. I mean, because the transfers, I don't have those committed to memory or anything.
Okay.
But transfers between all funds balance, and we're doing Deborah Mack, who y'all know is the contract accountant. We really shouldn't be calling them transfers for the most part, because they are actually expenses to the general fund and revenue to other funds. They really should be called an expense category, and she was in the process of recategorizing those in January, but it was too massive a detail, so we backed it out in order to get this report done. But there'll be more to come with the March report on transfers.
What did you say they should be
Thank you.
called?
They're really, the transfers, the best example is like the utility fund. Doesn't have like payroll processing staff in the utility fund. They're in the general fund. So part of that payroll processing cost is an expense to the utility fund. So we show it as, other expense or payroll expense in the utility fund, and an income it's an offset to general fund expenditures. It's getting in the weeds a little bit.
Just curious. Alderman Lackland.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Irwin, as we move down to expenditures and encumbrances, the non-departmental, I noticed it's up 90,000 from last month. And then under our fund balance increases for the governing body, administration, and finance, we're all down in there. What's
You're talking between January and February?
correct? Yes.
I don't have January with me. I would have to just get back to you on what the change was from.
Okay. And why would we have a decrease then in the governing body, the administration, and the fund balance? Where it says 59,127, 99,209, 149,024. When I checked the numbers relating to January, those all had a decrease.
Decrease between January and February?
Right.
I'll have to look at the detail and get back to you on that.
Okay. And one last one on public safety vehicle lease. Looking at that, we have an increase, so we're at 92.27%. It's the $390,870 expenditures to date. Is that something we're in critical, is that something that we need to look at? Or
The
we'll lose our
vehicle lease
vehicles?
payments they aren't going to go over budget, but they're not monthly. So I think that's fine, the lease line.
Because we got budgeted 423,601,
Well, that's the debt service.
No, that's
yeah.
it.
or the debt services, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
debt service. The debt service payments are usually, well, the larger ones are semi-annual, and so some of those have hit. But you've got adequate debt service budget.
Okay.
This shouldn't go over.
Thank you.
Alderman Passios.
Hey, thank you for presenting this today, Mr. Irwin.
Yes.
So one of the things that Mr. Lackman touched on was the governing body difference, that the February numbers are lower than the January numbers. If you could get an answer on the IT communications as well. January numbers show 130,000, February numbers show 103,000.
Okay.
And I know that you said that was one that was over the borderline of where it should be.
All right, well, I'll get back to you on
Sure.
why it decreased.
Yeah. The other thing for the debt service, I had asked a couple months ago about the debts that the town has. And I got two different reports from the LGC website on that for Spring Lake. I think one of them was for the water sewer fund, and there was another one. It looked like a more general one, and I can get you those numbers later, just so you can kind of confirm if these are accurate numbers we have for our debt services. But just to reiterate, you did say that we're not going to go over budget on our debt services, right? Payments.
No, we don't expect it to go over budget.
Okay.
Have you seen the 2020 audit has all the debt detail in the notes also? That would be a good place to look.
Okay. Yeah, I can look at that and see if it matches with what you guys have on the site. And I just wanted to add, I know one of the things Samantha, Ms. Cooper had said was that the Powell bill was one of the things included in the other revenues. And so that's probably a large chunk of that.
Well, the power bill is on here, it says streets dash power bill.
Yeah, for the expenditures, but on the revenue side at the top.
I'm sorry, go
For
ahead.
the other revenues, that's what she had identified was one of the things in there.
Okay, thanks.
And
Power
then,
bill would be under restricted intergovernmental revenue.
oh,
It's
so it's not
budgeted-
under other
It's
revenues.
budgeted at 250,000, and I think it came in at something over that.
Okay, and we do use those funds every year. Is that accurate?
Well, that's something Joe and I gotta talk about.
Okay.
Mr. Curran. You use them, but I don't know that they're properly documented, because POW bills, you know, it's very specific how they can be spent,
Mhm.
and your streets and public works guys are utilizing what is POW bill eligible, but, you know, no documentation is not a good thing.
Is that something we're required to report to the state, Powell bill money, and how we use it?
Annually, yes.
Because I think I saw a report, and I shouldn't be saying this because I'm saying I think, but I think there is a report that said that we didn't use it for 2020 or something like. But I'll figure that out again and try to.
The last report that, when Samantha and Deborah did it, we didn't have good documentation, so they showed zero expenditure.
Okay.
So we've got to, that's something, we've got to get established how to document those on a
Sure.
regular basis.
Okay.
Melissa, about the power bill, do you have something to add to that?
Last year when we did it, Mayor and Board of Aldermen, it's up to $517,000 right now.
The balance.
The balance is, because we didn't use the year before because of COVID, so it just accumulated. And I mean, me and Deborah's already went over a lot of that too, of this new stuff that we need to start doing. And I can send it to you. I've already got the policy, what you can use it for and what you can't use it for. No street lights, unfortunately.
Alderwoman Cooper.
Thank you. We might want to check, there was at one time a, schedule of roads that they were gonna repave, throughout the town. Several years ago, that was put in place, where they had a list of roads and when they would be repaved. So I don't know where we are in that rotation, but that was something a previous board did vote on. Yeah, they had a list of roads that each year they would use Powell bill funds to repave. And I don't know that they went through that full rotation.
That's something we can take a look at, but I think the task before us more so is getting documentation on what those expenditures are, so.
On a perspective basis, get something set up and capture it each month.
Another question about public transportation. We're still paying for public transportation?
I think that
There's a $32,000, $32,185 budgeted and $32,184 spent today.
that was the program, the bus program that ended, I think, in October. That was what was spent through that day, yeah.
Oh, so it wasn't spent in February, got it.
All right, want to go on to water sewer?
Yes, please.
All right. So if you look in the water sewer fund, in the revenue side, there's a large FEMA reimbursement. So I've tried to just pull some numbers excluding that. And if you exclude it, the revenues are at 60% of budget, which for a water sewer fund is a good place to be 2/3 of the way through the year. Also, the net revenues, excluding the FEMA reimbursement, are $846,415. Stormwater and sanitation funds, they both look good. They have positive net revenue and they're within budget. Stormwater charges and refuse collection charges are collected with a property tax bill. So, you know, if those revenues look high, it's because it all comes in first of the year.
Can you explain a bit about why you took the FEMA reimbursement out for the summer? Was that just to
Well,
give us a?
Just because I'm trying to look at operating revenue compared to operating expense. And the FEMA's like a one-time reimbursement.
Got it.
So as accountants, we like to know if you're living within your means. You know, recurring revenues need to pay for recurring expenses as best they can.
Got it.
Yeah. Then just a couple of notes about the budget so far this year. This year for 2022, we have a good budget. The prior year's budgets had some kind of illogical structure that has been corrected in the current budget. Things like staff were being costed out in the wrong fund. They were large, especially the general fund. This is what got y'all in trouble. The general fund had large fund balance appropriations, i.e. using savings to help pay for recurring operations. If you look at a graph of Spring Lake's fund balance from 18, 19, and 20 is a steep downward curve. And then we really don't know what it was for 21 because we're still trying to figure out what went on that year. We are going to talk about having an audit. The thought is that it may be unauditable, but we're still going to get reports on it. So the current, your current finance contract staff, Deborah Mack and the staff that are working with her, they're very diligent making everyone adhere to the budget. So we need to maintain that budget discipline ongoing through June 30th. And as we work toward a 2023 budget, I want you to know that it's probably not going to differ much from the existing budget in terms of Spring Lake's basic operating revenues and expenditures. The town, Spring Lake, needs to continue to live within its current resources while also budgeting for the eventual elimination of the deficit. And we'll help you all we can in that, but it's a steep climb right now.
Alderman Palacios?
Hey, thank you. And one of the things you had pointed out was that we don't know the numbers for the end. You're talking about the end of fiscal year 2021, right? Okay. And as part of the audit that may or may not be done because you said it was inauditable, what does that mean for?
Well, we're going to have auditors look at it, but they may just disclaim an opinion. If they can't render an opinion, they just do a disclaimer.
Okay. How common is that?
How common? It's not very common, but it does happen.
So that's just saying we don't have enough information to give you any accurate response.
Correct. There's just too much missing documentation or questionable documentation. I mean, they will attempt to do an audit, but we'll see what will happen. When Samantha and Deborah were working on that, we got behind on the current year, so we had to tell them to stop trying to fix 2021 because we want this year to be a good solid fiscal year, and it is so far. This year will be there will be an audit for it. That'll, we just have to worry about getting our beginning balances.
Alderman Cooper?
Oh, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Irwin. I did have one other question. The bottom of your note, your memorandum, you said From 2014 to 2018, the town transferred an estimated 1.887 million from the water and sewer fund to the general fund. Would that not have been, should that not have been caught in those audits each year? And should those be findings that we would have had in our audits?
Well, I mean, we pulled that number from the audit, so it is in the audits. Now, listen carefully. The transfer itself is not illegal. But the state in 2014 said, if you want to use state funds like state revenue sharing for water, sewer, or grants, that you will not subsidize your general fund with transfers from your utility fund. To the extent that a transfer pays for bona fide expenses like the payroll, transfer is not really the word we want to use, but that's what ends up happening. People use the word transfer. That 1.887 is the total transfers. Now, some portion of that, I think, when we research it, will be validated as paying for expenses that the general fund incurred on behalf of the water sewer fund. But, absent some qualification there, the general fund will have to repay the water sewer fund that transfer in order to be eligible for some of these grants.
But you said you didn't have concrete records to say that all of that was transferred incorrectly. So how do we arrive at a number that needs to be repaid back to water and sewer for us to be eligible to apply for funding?
So I think, we're talking about the years 2014 through 2018. Those were audited, and you do have an audit. So the records are there. We just got to go back and examine them for what was an interfund subsidy versus what was an interfund expense. If we find interfund expenses, it'll reduce that 1.8. The records that we're having trouble with is for the year 2020, 2021.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Palacios?
Okay. So let's say that it's confirmed, we're 1.887 that needs to be transferred back. Does that mean that even when we get to a positive general fund balance, that at that point we'd still have to be repaying that money back into the water sewer fund?
Correct. That's the worst case scenario.
Okay.
We are, I can't go into detail right now, but we are working on something that may mitigate that.
Okay.
We hope to bring to you before too long. It's not all bad.
And did want to ask about, well, I guess I'll just wait till we're finished with this report. Sorry.
Okay.
Well, those are all my remarks. If I've got any more questions.
I do. On fleet maintenance, last month we were told that the interfund transfers hadn't been completed yet. Do we have a date on when those will actually be done for fleet maintenance?
They should be in the March report, which we'll hopefully have at your next board meeting. That's the goal.
Alderman Lackman?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Irwin, looking down here at water purchases, current budget is $1,397,981. Expenditures to date is $671,450. That's up about $165,000 from January's report. It's also got as year-to-date spent as 101%. Can you elaborate a little more on that for me, please?
Well, water costs money. So the difference, month to month was the amount of water purchases made from, was it Cumberland County that you get your water from?
Cumberland and
Yeah,
Harnett.
okay.
You never seen it?
Got too many water systems on the brain. The 101, with the encumbrance, I think it has put it over. So I'm thinking it may be the encumbrance didn't get reduced enough for the water purchase. But we'll look at that in more detail for March and see if we can't get it back. The purchases plus the encumbrance should not be more than 100%.
Okay.
So we'll look at that.
Thank you.
Alderman Palacios?
All right, thank you. I wanted to ask about ARPA funds and state funds. I'm guessing, I know that they're not in these numbers. When do we start, I guess, discussions about how we're going to be using that money, and is it possible to get public forum, have that kind of thing? And that's for you, Mr. Irwin or Mr. Durham.
Well, first I tell you that most of the staff in my office today was in a 6-hour class today the School of Government put on about ARPA funds. So we're all learning how to best use them. And those are some of the options that we hope to present to you at some point for your to deliberate on the best use of the ARPA funds.
Yeah. I think that I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and that will be included in our discussion for the proposed 23 budget.
Okay.
And one of the things, which I was going to talk about that later on, but now's a good time, is that we have to have some type of budget work session that will occur, and looking at the proposed budget for 23 as well as those options, talking about the ARPA funds and others, and providing information to you as to how we go through this budget process for 23. As David has indicated, it will be a flat budget compared to 22. But again, it's important for us to understand sources of funds, options that are available to us, and ultimately the LGC, acting as the financial managers for the town, will approve that budget. But obviously there has to be consent from this body. So we will work session with this board, as well as I think it's a joint public hearing that will have to occur perhaps as we talk about moving forward with the LGC and with the Board of Aldermen.
All right, thank you. Is our bank recon up to date?
The bank recon is as up to date as it can get.
Up to, do you have a date in mind?
I don't have.
Not sure, okay.
But, we're still struggling with the beginning balance for July 1st. So, until we nail that down, I can't really say, the bank recs are totally up to date, because we're having to deal with the prior year issues.
Would you happen to know how far along we are? Which month have we caught up to?
I know all the accounts are current. The central depository, I'll have to check on that. That's the largest checking account.
Okay.
But I mean, it's either February or March.
Okay, February or March.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're pretty current.
Okay. Now, we had talked about setting up positive pay for our check disbursements. Do you know anything about that being set up yet?
Yes. Deborah Mack is doing that manually, which is not very sustainable. And we're corresponding with BB&T/Truist on how to automate that process. So we are looking at checks that clear every day.
Every day?
Yes.
Okay, great. Have there been any red flags that you guys are aware of with check disbursements or fraud or anything lately?
No.
No? Thank you.
None at all.
Well, none like the 2 checks that hit the account a
Right.
couple of months ago.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll catch that if that happens again.
thank you.
So there was last month we were told there was 5.9 million left to spend on the water treatment plant. I didn't see that in our report. Can you let us know about that?
So I believe that was probably the FEMA funding for the water plant. The FEMA funds were extended. I've dealt with FEMA in my career. I was with the city of Raleigh when we went through a lot of FEMA things. FEMA's not real flexible. They will extend the time period, but what you really need is to repurpose some of those funds, because even though FEMA wrote their work orders to rehab the plant in place, it really doesn't make a lot of sense, because that wastewater treatment plant is in a floodplain. It's been sorely flooded twice, so that's one of the things we're working with DEQ. We've had SERCAP in here to just kind of assess things to see what other options there are for Spring Lake wastewater. And hopefully those funds can get repurposed for some other purpose other than fixing the wastewater plant where it now sits.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Can you let us know what the balance of our investment accounts and our trust accounts are? Because that wasn't in the report either.
I looked at it today. So you have money at the North Carolina Capital Management Trust. I better not do that for me. Several $1 million, and then the truest account is about $600,000. And we draw money down from the Capital Management Trust when the balance in the check in the central depository gets low. And no drawdowns have been done in about 2 months. So there's danger in here in bank balances. That's why we don't really give them to you.
We just never heard of these balances,
Okay.
so I just want to make sure that the board is aware of these monies as well as the public is aware of these monies. Again, we're just now hearing these numbers.
Okay.
Alderman Lackman, what's your light on? Could you have something? Just making sure. So I do have several other questions in regards to this. So what procedures have been implemented to prevent and detect the missing cash? I know that was one of the audit report questions, so I want to make sure that we know what's being done about that.
The previous interim manager did a lot of that. Checks and balances with 2 people looking at things, not one person taking cash, recording, and depositing. So separation of duties has been instituted, sign-offs have been instituted. There's probably some more work that can be done on the cash receipting side. I'm not super familiar with it. We were relying on the contractors to do that. The disbursement side is probably pretty airtight with what you've got now. Purchase orders required for any kind of purchase. Credit cards have been severely limited. Two signatures on checks. We're signing checks. It's kind of hard to get it off the top of my head. But we can give you something in writing that talks more about specifically what's been done to shore up some of the securities.
So last month, Ms. McCullen said we were on track to regain control of our finances by the end of the summer, and I just want to make sure that that is an accurate statement. Are we still on track for that?
You have to ask Ms. McCullough.
I think her statement was that we would look at it at the end of the summer.
Okay. And she also talked about the exit strategies being reworked. So how far along are we in that process?
Not very far. I mean, that's just kind of what we work on paper first to think about how we're going to exit.
Okay, so I was under the assumption that there was like a layout. I'm a check the block kind of person,
Yeah.
so that's just the way I think.
No, not
so there
yet.
is no actual
But
strategy.
I'll tell you, well, the biggest strategy is personnel, because you have no staff in the finance department. So we got to get over that. That's a big hurdle.
Oh. Is there any other questions? Well, thank you so
you.
very much, Mr.
Right.
Irwin. We appreciate all of your information. And in the midst of all this, I have. Okay. Next on our agenda is a presentation by Ms. Deborah Clyde, but I do not see her in the audience. So oh, awesome, perfect timing. So I'll just pause for a moment. Would you like me to sing you a song until she walks in? I will keep you entertained. Hi, Miss Clyde. I just literally just called your name, so if you are prepared, you can just walk to the podium.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How is everyone?
Wonderfully well, thank you.
Mayor, Board, I appreciate very much allowing me this time this evening. I am coming this evening to request your support, not financial support. I believe you have it in your packet. I'm introducing a local news magazine, Spring Lake Forward. It's a very simple concept. It is past due time for Spring Lake to tell Spring Lake's story. There's a lot that happens in this town. There's a lot of awesome people in this town. When you turn on the news or read a newspaper, the only thing that you're ever hearing about Spring Lake is what happened that was wrong. The positive things of this community are never exposed. That's the purpose of this magazine. I'm going to begin mostly with town administration activities. My mayor has agreed to submit an article. I would appreciate very much if I could get one from the town manager. Each of the board, I'm going to go ahead and highlight each one of the board members. I would also like to highlight a town employee. When I highlight the town employee, I would like that employee to share what they do. Many people in Spring Lake do not know what town employees do. They have no idea. Community events. The Easter egg hunt that is happening this weekend, there are several people who've not heard about it. They have children. They might not subscribe to our Facebook page, or they may not be on Twitter, so they don't know. Right. So these are the kind of things that I think are very important for us. The first few issues will be primarily digital. I will have a few printed available for our community members who don't do email. And I hope to have the first issue out by the end of this month. And if you have any questions.
Well, I personally want to commend you for the work that you have done. I know this is just a mock-up, but I am already, I'm floored by it. The layout, the topics, this is absolutely needed. And I definitely want you to know that you have my full support in backing this magazine, because like you said, Spring Lake needs to start telling Spring Lake's story. So I commend you for the work that you're putting into this Spring Lake Forward. And I definitely want to commend you on that name. That's a powerful name, Ms. Clyde. Alderwoman Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to thank you for coming forward with this. I believe it was last fall when I was attending a virtual conference. One of the things they talked about, one of the sessions, was towns need to tell their story. And I grew up here, my family's from here. We had a lovely woman named Verna Owen who used to tell our story. And I'm so happy that we are going to have you telling our story, because we want it to be told, and we want people to know the good about Spring Lake. So thank you.
Alderman Lackman.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Clyde, thank you very much. I looked through this, and digital only initially was one of my questions regarding that, but you said that in the future there's going to be some printed ones.
Yes, sir.
The other thing is, how will people get the information to you so that you can have additional stories coming from our great citizens here?
springlakeforward@gmail.com is the
Okay.
current email address. springlakeforward.org, I believe, is the website. It will have a companion website, an email address, and other contact information on the first issue.
Okay. Also looking through here, you listed the Sand Hills Chamber of Commerce. I don't know that we really have a Sand Hills or a Spring Lake. I personally want to see the Spring Lake Chamber of Commerce resurrected because this is Spring Lake. But that's just something that, one of the things that I'm for. And on the education, don't forget about FTCC. We got a campus right here on Spring Lake.
Yes,
And so as you're talking about the schools, they provide a much valued resource to our adult population as well.
Oh, yes, sir. Since I presented that, I've already added the link for the survey, and I will be contacting the Spring Lake campus.
Okay.
They are on, yes. I just put together enough so that everyone had an idea of what it was actually going to look like. I didn't want to give up the whole thing for public record before we got it off.
Smart.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Alderman Lackman, to your point, the Greater Sand Hills Chamber is officially an entity. The Spring Lake Chamber was disbanded in 2017, and right now 127 Main Street houses the Greater Sand Hills Chamber of Commerce. Is there any other? Alderwoman Cooper.
And they are accepting memberships. You can see me for a membership application.
Spring Lake Forward would
There
like
we
to
go.
have one of those applications.
Absolutely. Alderman Palacios.
Yeah, just want to say thank you, Ms. Clyde.
You are welcome, sir.
Turn it back on. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing Spring Lake forward as Spring Lake goes forward.
Yes,
Thank you
ma'am.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all very much.
Okay, we will move on to agenda item 7C. 5 for Friday, Cumberland County Solid Waste Anti-Litter Campaign. Mr. Middleton. Great shirt, by the way.
Before Mr. Middleton starts, I'd just like to give you a little bit of background about how this started. Y'all know I am the stormwater administrator, and sustainability is also in my title. I didn't know that until a couple months ago, but yay! So I get a lot of requests from citizens here and from other departments, I guess, about the litter. A lot of people want to know about the litter. So since I'm also part of the staff liaison to the appearance committee, that comes up in that one as well. And Anna Schott gave a presentation at a joint appearance commission meeting last year that I thought was very interesting. It's a program in Cumberland County. It includes Fayetteville, possibly includes Hope Mills, possibly includes Hope Mills, in which people are encouraged to pick up 5 pieces of trash every Friday. Just 5 pieces. You don't have to go clean the entire street. Do your front yard, business front, parking lots, on your walk, pick up some trash, and Cumberland County Solid Waste will come pick up that trash for us. And part of the criteria is that we have to have monthly cleanups. We already have a group, Spring Lake Matters, who's starting the monthly cleanups, and I have been contacted by other people wanting to sponsor cleanups in town. So I figured just bring it all together and try to make something that the entire town can participate in some way or another. So, on that note, I would like to introduce Mr. Tim.
Hi, I'm Tim Middleton with Cumberland County Solid Waste, and I'm here to promote the 5 for Friday / Cumberland Clean program. It's an anti-litter campaign. Like she said, for a weekly thing, every Friday, if you pick up each person or 25% of Cumberland County residents will, if they pick up that material, I'm sorry, I'm very nervous, I'm not a speaker at all. If, that would be 21 million pieces a year removed from the community. That's a lot of trash. It's a real problem in Cumberland County, not just litter, but illegal dumping. Okay, I'm getting off, but we went and picked up one lot out by Gray's Creek, 1 2-acre lot. We pulled 35 tons of trash out.
Wow.
35 tons that had been built up for years.
Wow.
That was 2 supervisors and 3 other employees doing this.
Wow.
So we got to put a stop to this, and one way is to get kids. They're the future, you know, and this is what we were trying to do with this. We're trying to get kids involved. We're using, she mentioned Anacott, Sustainable Sandhills. We're using schools, and that's been our best pool of volunteers is the schools. We usually get 40 or 50 every month. We come do it, and around 400 on a Cumberland Clean event. And that's held twice a year in conjunction with Fayetteville Beautiful. And we're trying to get Hope Mills and Spring Lake involved too. I guess it's not how you can support me, because I'm all I do is go pick it up and promote it. I want to support you in this endeavor, and I will come pick up the trash when you pick it up. There's been a lot of problems in Fayetteville where when we do the event in Fayetteville, they depend on the Fayetteville Solid Waste to come pick it up, and it's already spread out again before they come get it. So I've started where I just pick it up right immediately after the event. All right, I got off on a tangent. How can you get involved? You go to 5forfriday.org or cumberlandclean.org or fayettevillebeautiful.gov. I'm not sure what it is. And hopefully after this you'll have your own site set up for I believe she's mentioned a Spring Lake cleanup. What was it called?
Spring Lake Matters is the group that does it once a month.
Okay. And it would really help if we could get the dates each month to run concurrently with one another.
Mr. Middleton, that's the first Saturday of each month.
I'm okay with that, but there's a lot of moving parts.
But that gives you when we do it.
Yeah, and I don't care what it is. In fact, if we can't get on board, and I'll come in when you do it. We want to get friends involved. We want to get colleagues involved, and that's where y'all go. But the key to this is getting the kids involved, getting the young people involved. We have Stan the Can mascot. I'm gonna try to have him out there on the 23rd in the Braswell Courthouse, out there in the parking lot. It's actually her, but, you know, that, I'm gonna try.
Pronouns are important.
And I gave her, the pledge cards, if anyone wants to see them, but there they are. And what you'll do is when you register for the event, whether it's online or not, it'll come to me in the email. And you just fill out it, then I'll have your email and we can coordinate the events better. The next slide is Anacott was scheduled to be here, and I don't really know too much about Sustainable Sandhills except that we're partnered. They actually provide, they've been doing this a lot longer than I have, and they provide most of the volunteers. All I do is provide the support right now. I'm working on Fayetteville Tech, Fayetteville State Methodist, their agricultural programs to get those students involved. Maybe the teachers will give them extra credit or something like that. That's how the schools do it. The kids come out and, you know, they get credit for it. Unfortunately, you know, they're not doing it for their own community, but it kills two birds with one stone.
Alderman Lackman, have a statement.
And Mr. Milton, one of the things that we are doing, we started in January with this cleanup on the first Saturday of each month. It is gaining traction in here. I have been contacted by several residents that are looking to clean up their areas. And so one of the things maybe Ms. Rosario and myself can kind of work on coordinating with you is when they do this cleanup that we can contact you so that this is something that can get picked up in a timely manner so that it doesn't get respread out again as they go.
Yeah.
That being said, what type of cleanup does this involve? You know, if it is litter waste as far as bagged trash, or are you talking mattresses, are you talking dressers, are you talking somebody moved out and just put all their stuff at the end of the street?
Okay, so one of the things I'm working on is there's a difference between litter and illegal dumping, and wherever it might be, that's what it is. Whether they toss it as they're going down the road or whatever. Anyway, I would like to take one of these events and pick all that stuff up, collect it in one spot, and I got a grapple truck that I was on this morning. I will come pick it up, take it away. You'll never know it was there. But it's got to be collected up into one location. It's a big truck. I can't just drive down in the woods and stuff. But I will, as long as I know in advance, I will be happy to do it. If you put the effort in to clean your community, I'm going to do everything I can to support you.
Outstanding. And just as one more point, right outside here by the fire department, we've got an aluminum can collection point here that for all the residents that are out here in Spring Lake, if you throw your cans away in your trash, please bring them up here to the collection point. Chief, I'm going to put you on the spot here real quick. Could you tell the group here a little bit about what the purpose of that can collection point in front of the fire department is and where that money goes to?
We collect the cans in that, which we take down and we trade it in for cash, which turns out to be for the Burn Children Fund. Cumberland County, we had started the Cumberland County Burn Children Fund, which, believe it or not, we have more children that needs that are burnt in Spring Lake or Cumberland County altogether. But we use that money to help them get back and forth with treatments or give them gas money to go back and forth, give them food, and then buy them certain things that they've got to have to be able to maintain, like certain shirts that they've got to have because they can't wear certain stuff, certain pants, whatever it's for. That's what we raise the money for. Every time that can thing gets filled up, which he did a great job last time getting filled up for me. We take it down, we empty it out, we take the money, and get some stuff for the children that's been burned in the area.
So that's a challenge to all you residents. Don't throw your cans away in the trash, bring them up here to the collection point. Thank you.
Okay, so the next date for this month, it's gonna be Cumberland Clean, Fayetteville Beautiful. And it's April 23rd. The site is open, fiveforfriday.org. It will lead you to all the other, I believe your site and Hope Mills is set up on there or getting that way upon your approval. Our PIOs are all working together to get this done. We want to, where you see Five for Friday Cumberland County and the Fayetteville logo, we want to put your logo on there. That'll go on all the advertising, Hope Mills as well. For the events, for the Cumberland Clean event, we give out t-shirts, recycled bags that used to be bottles, water, gloves, trash bags. And the bags, I have little goodies. I have coloring books for the kids. But that's April 23rd. If I see you in the parking lot of the courthouse, you'll get it. Or before that, if you come down to solid waste. Any questions?
Yes, well, I want to thank you for this presentation. I also want to highlight 3 of our board members who every week just about are out cleaning ditches, picking up trash, cleaning up the parks. That is Alderman Palacios, Alderwoman Thompson, and Alderman Lackman. They literally are out there weekly in ditches, and so I want to thank them personally and let them know how proud I am to serve amongst such humble and diligent workers, servant leaders. That's exactly who they are. And I do want to introduce you again to Alderman Palacios, who is our ex officio member of the Appearance and Sustainability Committee, so he would definitely be working alongside with Alderman Lackman on this cleanup. And I know it's Cumberland Clean and Fayetteville Beautiful. I just want to throw it out there if we can call it like Spring Lake Spruce Up. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah, you would want to come up with your logo for it, a name for it, and a website.
Just a little something, kind of. I like alliteration. Alderman Palacios.
We'll take that into consideration.
I appreciate that.
So, thank you, Mr. Middleton, for being here today, and also Deanna, who has been proactive. She is the staff member, like she said, to the Appearance and Sustainability, and ever since I've been part of that committee, she's been proactive a lot about reaching out to our team, and of course, Mr. Lackman, who has been, he is gung-ho, and he is going to make sure that we don't miss a date. So first Saturday of every month, we're cleaning up. Pay attention to his Facebook page, Spring Lake Matters, where we share that information. And even if you're not interested or have the ability to clean up and go out, maybe you're busy or physically unable, you can share that information as well to those around in the community. Deanna, did you have something to say?
Yes. One thing we need to do is for the board to pass a resolution to support the Five for Friday, and I will get that information to you as soon as possible. Hopefully by next meeting we'll be able to have something drafted up. And also, don't forget, our cleanup is also on the 23rd.
That's right.
It's from 11 to 1. It's going to be from 11 to 2, sorry, right after the torch run.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to have a busy day that day. We're going to have household hazardous waste pickup, our bulk pickup, electronic pickup, and then of course all the regular pickups. I have the bags, the gloves, the vest. So we're good to go.
So
Go ahead.
so that the public knows, could you maybe get to the mic or either speak up so that they can know exactly again what type of articles and where they need to come and place them at?
It will be at the Recreation Center from 11 to 2. It's going to be directly after the police department's torch run. We are going to have the household hazardous waste. bulk pickup, tires, e-waste, and then of course the regular trash pickup. And you can find more information on the Spring Lake Stormwater Department Facebook page or the Spring Lake Stormwater Twitter page, which I update quite often, but we do have the graphics up there. It's also on the town website, thanks to Chris. And I will be there at 9 o'clock in the morning to start setting up, so I hope to see all y'all there.
Thank you.
Hold on.
Alderman Lackman.
When you're talking household hazardous waste, give us some examples of
That would
that
be
so that our people know.
paints, pressurized cans, trying to think of that list off the top of my head, some pesticides, the empty containers, you can bring those in. Help!
Tim to save the day.
He's a good boss.
Oh yeah, you can also do batteries, fluorescent light bulbs.
Batteries, are you talking like car batteries? Are you talking household batteries, 9 volts?
Yes.
Triples?
Lithium.
All the above?
Yes.
Okay.
And they're supposed to be getting us a list, just to make sure it hasn't changed since the last time. You know, we haven't done this for 2 years because of COVID, but they're supposed to be getting us a list that we can get out on the website as well.
Awesome. Yes, as soon as that gets out, we can put that out to the public as well.
Yes,
I
sir.
will try to have that out tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll send it out to you.
When you were also talking household waste, are you also talking trees and limbs type of brush, or are you talking more like furniture?
The household hazardous waste would be the paints that we just talked about. Bulk trash would be tires, small furniture. The electronic waste is anything with a cord, so TVs, toaster ovens, iPads, whatever else that, you know, you don't want to put that stuff into the landfill because it's got stuff in it that shouldn't be exposed like that. So we collect that. Last year, I believe we collected something around 20 tires that day. So we do collect quite a bit. And I haven't really had to do many of these because of COVID, so bear with me, please. Anything that would normally go into the container sites at Cumberland County, since we do not pay that site fee, we'll take it now. We'll take it then. So anything large that you want to get rid of, if it's something that we cannot take, we'll find a way to make it happen. So.
Music to my ears.
Can we add my garage to that list?
No. No.
My shed, both of them.
Anything else? Can I go hide now?
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Deanna, and thank you, Mr. Middleton. We will move on to agenda item 8, new business. We have a resolution by the board for appointing administrative staff for the development, administration, and enforcement of development regulations authorized by Chapter 160D of the North Carolina General Statutes and Chapter 42 zoning ordinance of the town of Spring Lake by our newly appointed interim town manager, Mr. Joe Durham.
Thank you much, Madam Mayor. This is a quick summary. Chapter 160D represents the first comprehensive rewrite of the planning and zoning regulations in the state in probably 50 years. And it does combine Chapter 153, which used to be for counties, and 160, which was for cities, and it combines them into one general statute now. This was to become effective January 1 of 21. This board, or not this board, but the previous board did take action on an item. It required an amendment to every development regulation that the city has, which includes both the subdivision ordinance as well as the zoning ordinance. One of the things that was not done was designating the enforcement of the appropriate provisions of the ordinance. So this resolution would allow for the town to develop, administer, and enforce development regulations set forth, Chapter 42 zoning of the town of Spring Lake, and it does allow for does appoint the town manager and the inspections department executive assistant as the administrative staff. So we're asking that you approve this resolution as stated, and so I'll be glad to respond to any questions if there are any.
I will entertain a motion for approval of the resolution. Alderwoman Cooper,
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I second.
Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Alderman Palacios.
Mr. Durham, can you explain in layman terms what the administrative appointments would be, or what the responsibilities?
This would be, and again, it's, I thought I was doing it in layman's terms earlier. It's okay. But it
Catching
does.
up here, I'm sorry.
It does appoint, anytime you have a development related ordinance, this is involves planning and zoning, someone needs to administer and enforce that. So if there's zoning regulations that need to be enforced or that are related to this, or approving subdivision regulations, it is important to have someone who is approving that. So we have designated your town manager as well as the executive person in inspections. Those are the only two. Or again, you have to have somebody to do that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Alderman Lackman.
So, Mr. Durham, when we're talking about this, are there cases that would come up then to the board, or is this something that would be handled by you and?
There has to be some entity. Of course, we're involved with Cumberland County with their joint planning. But there will be cases time to time, just as with the old zoning ordinance, the old subdivision regulations. Yes, there'll be things and items that will come for your consideration and approval.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Alderwoman Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. And just for clarification, the executive assistant is Ms. Patricia Hickman, is that correct? Okay.
And it's important to know, and you make a great point there, if I can just provide, again, it doesn't, one of the things you don't want to do is appoint people by their name. You want to do positions, because the names will change, the positions won't.
That was just for clarity, though.
Understood.
So there is a motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, and the resolution has passed. All right, we will move on to 8B, our interim town manager appointment by me. So, I'm sorry. Just wanted to make sure that I was moving correctly. So we are, appointing our town manager subject to the approval of the contract by the LGC. And now I will entertain a motion to appoint Mr. Durham. I'm sorry, my board lit up really quickly, and I don't know who went first. So, that shows we are very eager to get him appointed. I am going to just pick Alderwoman Thompson.
I'll make a motion to appoint Mr. Durham as the town manager, interim town manager.
Alderman Lackman.
I second that motion.
Is there any discussion?
Yes,
Yes, Mr. Charleston.
Pending contract.
this is Jonathan Charleston. I just want to make sure that it's clear that the motion says subject to concurrence, but with the contract, concurrence by the local government commission with the contract to employ and pay Mr. Durham.
Thank you for reiterating that. Alderman Palacios?
Yeah.
Is there any other discussion?
Do we need to restate that motion then?
Okay.
Restate the motion.
Make sure you include that.
Um,
I'm ready, that's Ms. Pierre Pereira.
read it.
Mayor, the motion that I wrote in there is the one that
Oh,
She's got the verbiage now.
oh, she got.
That's the motion that
Thank
you
you.
have to make.
Alderwoman Thompson?
I make a motion that we approve, appoint, subject to approval of contract provisions in turn by the local government commission.
Alderman Lackman?
I second that motion.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes, and we have officially appointed Mr. Durham as our interim town manager, subject to the approval of the contract by the LGC. Awesome. So we will move on to agenda item 8C, which is our town manager report by our newly appointed interim town manager, Mr. Joe Durham.
Thank you very much. This will be very brief, but I've already talked about the budget process for fiscal year 23. We will poll the board regarding coming up with some appropriate dates for that work session to talk about the budget. And I'll get with David on as far as when that will occur. And I think it's important for it to occur as soon as we can. We are running against, obviously, has to be adopted before the end of this fiscal year, so we'll be working with the LGC on that. So, questions about that or any? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. The next item, again, as the mayor has stated, staff has and will continue to work with LGC staff on all kinds of different issues that are before us as it relates to the audit, as it relates to the findings that have been put before us, and that cooperation has been good. It will continue to be, hopefully working in an effective manner with Mr. Irwin and his staff going forward. And obviously, again, there are many challenges that are before us, but we will address those on a timely basis. Just wanted to make the board aware of that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Durham. Alderman Palacios.
All right. Mr. Durham and employees that are responsible for this, Hedgemore Drive or Hedgemore Circle was paved today. So I just want to thank whoever was responsible. Government does move slowly, but it does move.
You guys don't understand. We live in Deerfield, so I understand how grateful Alderman Palacios is for, having to no longer having to dodge the craters.
My neighbors thank the staff as well.
Awesome. So we will continue on and move to agenda item 9. I will entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to NCGS 143.318.11 6A personnel. Alderman Palacios.
So moved.
Alderwoman Cooper.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries, and we will move into closed session. Thank you all for coming out tonight. We really appreciate it.